Okay, well, welcome back to the Jiu Jitsu Mindset. My name is Pete Deely, and I'm here with my professor, Professor Lucas Hubo. Professor, good
Uh,
morning.
Good morning. Hello, guys. Welcome back, everyone. It looks like it's been a minute, huh?
But we're back. And for those of you listening in the future, it is the day before Thanksgiving on the year is 2022, and it's the day before Thanksgiving. And so in the true Thanksgiving fashion, Professor, you are a great blessing to me as both a friend and a teacher to me. So I'm thankful for you in the holiday, and I have my submission coffee here to toast
Yeah,
you over the Zoom call here.
there you go. I'm thankful for your friendship as well, Peter, and your partnership. What's your plans tomorrow for Thanksgiving? That's important day, man.
So my primary goal for Thanksgiving is to resist the urges to overindulge because Saturday I have that tournament. So I sadly am one of those people who kind of cut the weight closely. So there will not be lots of feasting. But other than that, we're gonna do what everybody else is doing. Have a great feast day. But get this, my daughter has an equine therapy business. So she works with people to
Yeah.
overcome various issues with the use of horses. And she has this little mini horse, and it's called Cookie. And this horse is it's disturbingly small. It's like a toy, and we're going to go over in the morning, and some people are going to do turkey trots. We're going to do the cookie trot. So we're going to take this horse and walk around the neighborhood and
Oh, it's
enjoy.
gonna be fun.
Yeah, yeah, it is going to be fun. How about
So
you
I
guys?
so I guess I'm not seeing you tomorrow to open that.
The children are going to win the time contest tomorrow
Fair
morning.
enough. Fair
So
enough.
I
Fair enough.
we don't get enough of that with them. So yes, but how about you? Other than open mat, would you?
Well, open mat, right? And then right after open mat, for those who know, World Cup's happening. So Brazil is playing the very
Oh,
first game tomorrow at noon
that's
against
right.
Serbia. Nothing against Serbia, but I hope Brazil will crush them. And well, right after, just chill a little bit, meet some friends, and have some good food, gathering, and be thankful for so many good things happening.
Where are you going to watch the game? Is there where are you going to? Do you have a station that you can watch it in the
Yeah,
house, or are you going to
you
go out
can
somewhere?
watch on ESPN, Fox Sport,
Oh, okay.
and I don't watch at home because I have the tendency to curse too much when I'm watching soccer. So I will keep by myself here.
Yeah, that's so funny. I
But
yeah.
most important, even more important than Brazil win, is Argentina losing. So Argentina lost yesterday, so that's a good start. And Germany just lost against Japan.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
a
Yeah.
crazy thing. Yeah,
Yeah, England crushed somebody too. I
they
was
did good.
surprised. I haven't watched the game yet. It's funny. I was watching a World Cup many years ago with somebody who wasn't really a soccer fan, and they were like, I'm not used to seeing you like this. Something about World Cup soccer that really brings out
Oh yeah,
the fanness.
yeah.
Yeah,
Like even for me, I don't remember the last time that I actually watched a soccer game.
right.
But now World Cup, I get back on like 10 years old, just crazy yelling. It's a good
Yeah,
time.
Argentina getting beat by South Arabia.
That's amazing.
Well, the Copa del Mundo is, you get the big trophy at the end, and so
Yes,
people working for the recognition of the championship. And we have a version of that coming up here at the gym, in a sense, right? We're going to do a
true.
belt promotion on December 3rd. And so I was hoping today we could talk about like belt promotion
Hmm.
ceremonies and belts in general. And I wanted to get your perspective on like why it's important, to one to have the ceremony, and two, it marks an achievement of sorts, but
Yes,
that achievement is both a combination of the community and the
yes.
individual. So, but maybe we could start here. Why should we have belts at all? Like, why don't we come in and just all wear the same color belt? Like,
Hmm.
why have a belt?
First of all, I love bell promotions.
Hmm.
I mean the ceremony, right? I
Right.
think it's a super important day for the school, for the professors, coach, for of course for those that are getting their belts, but also for the teammates because you're happy for your friend that achieving
Yeah.
that next level. But more than all this, I think it's important for friends and family that go there and watch and celebrate together, because those that are receiving the belt and those that are there to watch their teammates receive the belt, how the environment works, right? You are there
Right.
almost every day at the mat, so you
Right.
guys know what you do. But having people from outside going to the jiu-jitsu gym maybe for the very first time
Right.
and see that brotherhood, that friendship, that amazing environment, that's when you see the true value of what we do, right? As
Right.
a jiu-jitsu instructors and students and everything else.
Right.
So and you see, I love to have the students talk a little bit, right, about their belt, about their journey until to get there, because you can share important moments of your life that sometimes you don't share on a daily basis, and a lot of people can connect with each other through those speeches, right? So
Yeah.
anyway, I love it. I always think it's a really important day. But jiu-jitsu wasn't always like that, right?
Right.
I actually don't know when the belt system started,
Right.
but on the early days of jiu-jitsu was pretty much only two belts, was a white belt and a black belt.
Right.
It doesn't matter if you're a white belt for a day or for 5 years,
Right.
you're going to be wearing the same belt. And then on the day that you become a professor, you're going to be wearing the black belt.
Right.
And the system started to change because, of course, you're going to the level of a white belt with 5 years of experience against a white belt with a month of experience, completely different.
Right.
So having the other martial arts as an example as well, you start to have some, okay, what should you do next? What can be a next good belt after the white, a certain level of transition. Okay, so let's have a blue belt and then purple and then brown, and then, then you start to evolve on that way. But in the beginning it was white and black, and that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. I was thinking about our podcast before we got on this morning. And when I was in my first experiences with martial arts, right, there was Black Belt magazine, and I'm talking, but this is like 1980s, before you're born, right? Like, so I'm reading this this edition of Black Belt magazine once, and they're talking about the belts, and they're saying, listen, in the ancient times, the fighter would go into the fighting pit with his white belt, and if he survived long enough over the years as a fighter, the belt would just naturally turn black because there was so much dirt and grime that kind of, and so you knew that you were fighting someone experienced because their belt had turned black over the years.
Yeah.
Now, I have no idea if that's true, but it's a great, magazine experience as a kid that always stayed with me. As a practical matter, I mean, walking in and seeing a brown belt indicates to you this is somebody who has, if you're a new person, then this person has much more experience than the person wearing the white belt. And I mean, from a knowing who is in the room with you, the belts, I think, tell each other, like, okay, here we are, relative experience. From a business perspective, I mean, we all need a way to mark our moments. I think it'd be harder to keep somebody interested if you don't have a way to kind of mark the moment. So it makes sense as like, hey, there is a business component to all of this.
I have a funny fact on this belt thing. So when jiu-jitsu started to grow a little bit more in Brazil on around like 70s and 80s, it was things start to get a little bit out of control in terms of growing. A lot of black belts start to just like show up. Oh, who's that guy? He's a black belt, but under who? Because remember that it was really small until then, right? It was pretty much the Grace family, another family, and their students, so they knew each other.
Right.
So when Helio Gracie started to see other guys getting black belt and not telling anyone under who they are a black belt, in form of protest, Helio started to use a blue belt.
Oh.
So for many, many years, and I believe Royce Gracie does the same now just to honor his dad, he doesn't wear a black or a coral belt or a red, whatever it is. It was kind of like a navy blue, not like a regular blue belt, but like a navy blue. So that was his term of protest. Like, they are not giving much credit for the black belt anymore, so I'm gonna use a blue belt.
So I'm gonna call myself my own belt. Yeah, I think so. I mean, that brings up the point of like, well, first of all, as it relates to the ceremony, and I want to come back to that later, but one of like one of the ways in which you've impressed me is the way that you conduct these belt ceremonies, because you have such extraordinary like knowledge of us as students, and as people come and receive their belt, you're able to make it personal to them, which I think is an extraordinary thing, because for that moment in time, that person is aware that you've been watching them, that they get this belt because you know enough about them to recognize that this is, I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's an extraordinary thing that a person
Hmm.
can experience. And I think you build great community in those moments, because um because it matters so much to us that kind of receive that. But um the hoist wearing a blue belt, I think, is a way to say that the belt doesn't tell the whole story, right? So
Yes.
um in your years of giving people belts and being part of those belt promotions, what do you think is happening in that day? Like, what can you describe, like why it is important to the community and why it is important to the individual?
I think in many different ways. Like, first, just the appearance, right?
Hmm.
Especially if it's the first one, like white to
Right.
blue, right? Because you
Sure.
see all your improvement. You're doing really good, and maybe after a year and something, being a white belt, training consistent, you already like miles, 1,000 miles away from someone that never trained jiu-jitsu before, or a martial art, right? So
Right.
you can handle yourself really well against like new people or people on your level, right?
Hmm.
But at the same time, if you're putting so much time on this sport, on this art, and then you're talking about jiu-jitsu for everyone, and then, oh, that's awesome, like, what belt are you? And it's like, white, you know and
Right.
nothing against, but
Yeah.
everyone in the world knows that white belt is the most beginner level, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I think in a unconscious way, sometimes you want to change that first belt, especially just to be like
Hmm.
a little bit different than
Yeah.
like a brand new person, like a beginner, and try to
Yeah.
kind of like be more respect,
Hmm.
from the others. I would say, even if people don't say, I'm sure this is a big factor, like, I'm not wearing a white belt anymore and be
Hmm.
start to be, it looks like you're more advanced, which again, it's just a different color,
Right.
right?
Right.
Your jiu-jitsu won't increase dramatically just because you put a new belt on your waist.
Sure.
You just need to keep training and dedicate yourself. So this for sure. And also, everyone like jiu-jitsu being so long, the belts are not handled in a short amount of time, right? You have a minimum time for each belt, and that minimum time can take, is sometimes like a year and a half, 2 years, 3 years. I spent like more than 5 years in some of my belts. It's
Right.
a long time.
Right.
A lot of things, like a college degree almost, a
Hmm.
lot of things happen in between that time. So when you when you get to the time that we're changing that color, you're getting promoted, is like a new chapter of your
Yeah.
journey. So you take the best as you can take from everything that happened on that journey before. And I think for harder it is to get to that jiu-jitsu level, for harder that it was your life
Hmm.
between that period of time, for whatever reason outside the mat, it's kind of like a
Yeah.
new goal now,
Yes.
it's
Right.
something else, so I think that's also something really important.
Yeah, I mean, I think that as human beings, when we expend a lot of energy on something, that seeing, well, where does the energy go? I mean,
Hmm.
and that the belt is sort of a way to say, it's almost like this represents,
Yeah.
18 months of my life, like my white belt, that's a solid 7 years before you gave me the blue belt, all right, or
Hmm.
whatever. So I mean, I think we crave the notion of like having to mark the moment, and
And
that
sorry to interrupt you real
not at all.
quick, but it's also the human being needs to be aware for something, right?
Yeah.
It's like you do something, you work so hard, work so hard, and then that belt will, for you, will show that, okay, I earned something, this change. And again, it's awesome. You have a new belt and everything. The feeling is amazing. But again, nothing will change if you don't
Right.
keep investing your time and committing to that, right?
What without a doubt, and I mean, and we'll come back to the notion of the blue belt curse because sometimes the distance between the being blue to purple is a different, I think, transition than white to blue. Now, but what the other thing I was thinking about in preparation for today is that unlike other disciplines, you can't really you can spend a lot of time watching videos, you could read books about jiu-jitsu, but you can't learn jiu-jitsu without people to train with.
Yeah.
So it's the community is without the community of training partners, of professors, you really can't advance. This isn't something that can be learned in a vacuum.
Just Helio Gracie. He's the only one that
Yeah,
was
minus
able
the
to do
the Albert
that.
Einstein of jiu-jitsu, right? But that, I mean, it seems so. It's interesting to me because the what I experience in your belt promotions, which is the only ones that I've participated in, is this feeling that, hey, we're celebrating you as an individual, and you give nice details to like call out the person as an individual, and then you give a moment where the person can actually say something too, which I think kind of cements in their memory, that they're accepting, the compliment, they're
Uh-huh.
accepting also the award. But in that moment, sitting around this mat are all these people that have been on this journey with them, and they're bonded in a way that is I feel like is unique. And so their accomplishment sits in the effort of not just themselves, but the effort of the community too.
Hmm.
And I mean, and I feel like every time we have a belt promotion brings us closer together as a
I
community,
agree. Yes.
because we're celebrating those white to blues, which is super important.
Hmm.
But then we have other folks that have been with us and trained with you
Yeah.
for a long time that are now starting to demonstrate higher levels of skills and mastery.
Hmm.
And that's a different type of achievement.
Yes. Yes. And I think one my thought process, let me just say that I celebrate one of the reasons why I like so much the bell ceremonies
Hmm.
because myself, I'm celebrating the effort.
Yes.
I'm celebrating your commitment. I'm celebrating how much time
Yeah.
you're putting to do this,
Hmm.
right? Again, the belt's awesome. It's just like a image, something representative that you can touch and everyone can see. But none of this would happen if you're not putting your effort over there. And
Right.
that's why the belts are so specific. So
Right.
yes, of
Yeah.
course, you do have some criterias and some requirements
Hmm.
for the belts, for the promotions, but you can never ever compare yourself with someone
Yeah.
else. The journeys are completely different. The
Right.
individuals are different. The skill levels, the background, your life, your day, like everything is different.
Right.
So you can never like give like only one requirement for the belt
Right.
happen, right?
Yeah, I think so. We've used this expression, the blue belt curse, right? So people
Yeah.
will achieve this first level of competency that they go from
Hmm.
being a beginner to being less than a beginner to having some, basic understanding of the sport. But often they don't persist to a purple belt. So I'm curious, like I'll throw out my idea about what might happen.
Hmm.
I'm curious in your experience what your perception is. But as a blue belt myself, it is uh, very obvious to me that there are plenty of white belts that I can roll with who will that just because I'm a blue belt doesn't mean that I'm going to win this moment of
Yes.
sparring and the moment of specific training. And if I was 25 rather than 52, that would probably affect me psychologically differently than I do now. Um, However, I can imagine being discouraged, like, well, I've been doing this for 14, 16, 18 months.
Hmm.
However, somebody 4 months in and they're like, well, they give up. I'm not quite sure why people don't persist because I guess I'm so in love with the experience that like I think, oh, everybody would have the same. Like if you hang
Hmm.
in for a year, why would you not continue on?
Yeah.
But why do people leave like after having that first achievement?
I think a couple reasons. First is one of the longest belt. you're gonna stay there in the blue belt for a while, at least like 2 years.
Hmm.
Okay, like 2 years and a half sometimes, or even more, because again, being a longer belt, the chance for life happens in between
Yeah.
that time
Right.
is just bigger, right? So it can take more than that.
Hmm.
And again, coming back to that, the human being needs to be praised, right? Need to
Right.
be rewarded for something. So when you take so much time and you're not getting a reward for that, you start to get a little bit dismotivated, right? To
Right.
keep doing. So that's, I think, is the reason number one.
Hmm.
Not putting in order like the most important to the less important,
Sure.
just like
A
number
reason.
some.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, Another reason is exactly what you're saying. It doesn't mean that if you're a blue belt, you can easily close your eyes and
Right.
smash all the white belts. It doesn't work that way, and that can be really frustrating. Like
Right.
really, like people understand that they are not evolving, they are not uh, understanding the techniques anymore. They are having a hard time, and that changes like this night and day just because you have a new belt. Is a
Right.
unconscious, most part of the times. So, and at the same time, the purple belt, think like this: if the blue belt is one of the longer belt and they pass through that, so
Right.
their level of skills are bigger, right?
Sure.
So your battles against the purple belt will be surviving mode almost,
Yeah. Oh,
right?
yeah. That's
If
what you
not,
told me. Like, hey, your job is to escape and survive for the first
yeah,
like 4 years.
if not all the time, so you were on that limbo, on not necessarily over, do everything with the white belts, have a really tough role if the belts do the same color as you, and probably surviving mode,
Hmm.
and your victory on those some competitive roles will be like, okay, today I tap only 3 times and then only two
Yeah.
times,
Right.
against the higher ranks. So it is, you struggle in all aspects, but at the same time, because of that, is the belt that if you pass, you're gonna grow the most. If you
Right.
get the purple belt, so if you pass your blue belt and get your purple, you might take some breaks, but you won't stop.
Right.
I guarantee you might take like 20 years to get to the black belt,
Right.
but you got the grind. You
Yeah.
understand that this is way more than the next belt.
Hmm.
If you're on a road trip, you keep looking to the next gas station, you won't look anything else on your side. You won't
Right.
enjoy anything. When you look further to your destiny, you enjoy everything that you're passing through. So that's how it should be.
Right. Yeah. I was going to ask that question. I think, that notion of just like your belt, don't let that be a point of comparison because then you could easily be discouraged
Yeah.
or maybe falsely encouraged too, right? I mean,
Hmm.
I think you don't want to think, well, um, I'm my belt means that I will
Yeah.
always have this particular, always win or whatever. Um, when you the
Henzo Gracie Pete has a say. I don't know if I can say that, so you can add it
yeah, go
later.
ahead. Right.
He says, someone asked him about like so many people getting the black belt, and same thing like you were talking before, like underhook. You don't even
Right.
know
Right.
that guy's not credentialed or anything. So, Henzo, what do you think about people, all those people getting their black belts in jiu-jitsu, don't even know them? And he's like, well, the belt cover only is an inch of his butt. The rest is up to him. So doesn't
Yeah.
matter what belt you're wearing, man. You need to be able to handle that.
Yeah, there's certainly, I mean, for those people interested in competing, when you step into, you better own your rank if you're going to go, put it, and I will be a Hubo black belt at some point in time, sometime in the distant future. When you've observed people moving from one, we spend a lot of time talking about the beginning journey, hang in, get to the blue belt, and then in the blue belt, it's a long journey, it's worth it to continue to develop your vocabulary to get to purple belt. Like purple belts and brown belts, are there common things that they experience? Now that I've been in the jiu-jitsu community for a few years, I see all these memes come through about,
Mm.
this is the stereotype of a white belt, this stereotype of a blue belt and purple belt. So I'm sure they come from something, right?
For
So are there,
reality, yeah.
right? Yeah, they're based on some sort of reality. Are there common things that as you go along you experience as a purple belt and a brown belt?
Yeah, it's funny. That's really funny actually because uh, it feels like the purple belt. again, I'm talking things that, my psychology
Right.
way, is being trying to recognize some things. But after when you get your purple belt and then you pass through that battle, that is a blue belt, right?
Right.
You kind of like relax, man, I did the right thing. I did the hard thing. So the memes usually is like the purple belt skipping warm up, getting a little bit late, just rolled, I already know some things. And I think it's just that you get, reality is you were proud of your work to be able to get there.
Right.
It's not like being cocky or anything like that. It's just, and I did like a really hard thing, and I
Yeah.
kind of earned being able to do that.
Right. Sure.
Of course, not every purple belt that is this, but it's funny because it end up being a thing. It's
Yeah, it's
funny. And
common. Yeah.
yeah, brown belt, it changed because brown belt now and I'm close to the black belt.
Right.
So your posture on the mat needs to change.
Yes.
You're not the purple belt having fun on the mat anymore. You know, and not saying that the purple belts are just want to have fun and being
Sure.
crazy on the mat. No, but you have more responsibilities because you're that close to a brown belt, to a black belt,
Right.
and for the next years, you need to show, you need to change, you need to be a black belt, not only on a technical way, but your posture, your behavior, your attitude, on your
Yes.
leadership. So brown belt things change. It starts to be more serious.
Right.
Purple belts like that, fun belt for sure.
Right. Yeah. I mean, when we've talked about your achieving your black belt, I mean, one of the things that I loved hearing you talk about was that achieving the black belt for you was not just about being recognized as being a professor of jujitsu, but it was a way to kind of accept a leadership role in the community, that you were a black belt, and accepting that, okay, people look at me differently now. I have a different set of responsibilities, um, and back to my
Mm-hmm.
community. And it's interesting to me that you talk about like that as a for the brown belts, like getting closer to that responsibilities. Because we've had, a couple of brown belt promotions in the last year,
Yeah.
um, and as human beings, like I respect our, we have a wonderful community. I respect everybody, but I mean these men that got a chance to achieve that level are, I think, exhibit a lot of those great qualities that I think you and I would agree, like in the community,
Mm-hmm.
we would want these type of, um, a type of leaders. Have you found that throughout the jiu-jitsu community? I mean, have you found that linkage between having a certain type of character being paired with a certain type of physical skill common, or is that more unique to our circumstance? I mean, does the jiu-jitsu community as a big community
Mm-hmm.
link character and belts, or at least expert belts, together?
I'm not sure if I understood the question, Pete. Can you?
Yeah, so I'm saying, I guess what I'm saying is, like, you being a black belt was also you accepting certain responsibilities, and for me, that's a
Mm-hmm.
connected to your character. Like for you, the black belt could mean like, this means I am the
Okay,
apex
got it.
predator, right?
Got it.
But it wasn't just that you're better at jujitsu than other people. It's like
Yes.
you want to be a better person too. And and
Yes.
and we talk about like jujitsu on the mats helps you off the mats, and that differentially, the more jujitsu you have, the I think that it can make you a better
Uh,
person. If I can be so bold as to say that.
Perfect. Yeah, I think I think life gives us opportunity to improve ourselves, right?
Right.
And that's my belief. I think we should be improving by
Hmm.
the time to achieve whatever we will achieve on our journey
Right.
here, right? And I see jiu-jitsu the same way.
Hmm.
Of course, you're gonna have a ton of meatheads being a black belt, but
Right.
that's just how people is.
Sure.
But by then you should be more more evolved. I would say.
Yeah.
What I like a lot also about jiu-jitsu is those minimum times per belt and age that just show that it's not everyone right away that will get to the black belt or to other belts in jiu-jitsu, right?
Right.
Again, not saying anything bad about the other martial arts, but I can believe that you can have a 10 or a 9-year-old kid being a third-degree black belt in a martial art.
Right, right.
You don't have, on that age, you won't even have coordination to execute the movements.
Sure.
You won't have like time enough on that journey in your life to know enough about the skills to get to the level. And for me, the bigger part is
Right.
you don't have the maturity, you don't have
Yeah.
how you're gonna be an example, how you can't, so that's crazy for me.
Yeah.
And jiu-jitsu has that. Jiu-jitsu has the opposite to that, actually, right? You have a minimum wage, you have a time, so
Yes.
I see that when you get to black belt in jiu-jitsu, you're able to expend a lot of time on that art. And
Yeah.
again, we should try to improve ourselves and evolve on, but the time goes by. So when you get to
Yeah.
the black belt, you should be in a different spirit level,
Yes.
right? Where you see things more than only a jiu-jitsu fight. You
Right.
see people more like as individuals, right? Not just about, oh, okay, this guy's good, this guy's coordinated, this guy's uncoordinated. You need to try to look a little bit deeper in that, understand the reasons why people are doing jiu-jitsu, and try to maximize all those reasons to have them uh, enjoy and have the true benefits that the art will give to you. You know, not just
Yes.
about the
Right.
confidence on learning the
Yeah.
skills, but on that huge network and and brotherhood and everything else that you talk.
Right. So I don't have experience like training in lots of different jujitsu gyms around the world, so I mean, I don't have that. However, I feel really fortunate to have come to jujitsu at my particular age and to have been exposed to Hicks and Gracie um, at kind of the same time. Because when I've when I read his book and I you know watch his videos in the various places, and that he spends as much time talking about sort of his spiritual disposition as he does
Mhm.
about invisible jujitsu and his
Yes.
technical expertise. And his body, as a great fighter over such a long period of time, carries the marks of having spent a lifetime of fighting.
Yeah.
And he talks about well, the limitations of the body he has now versus the body he had as a 20-year-old. So although I don't have experience training lots of places, I think of him as perhaps the greatest jujitsu fighter in the history of the
Yes.
sport. And where he has come to is that what feels like is equally important to him as his skills is his attitudes and beliefs and how it shaped his character.
Mhm.
Um, and that has been a great attraction to me as somebody who intends to train until he dies. He had videos of him and his dad at 95 rolling on the
Yeah.
mats,
Yeah.
and what was going on with them was not just physical training, but
Mhm.
it had it had deeper meanings to that. um I think as we part of our audience, we're encouraging the people to consider jujitsu and to find a school. And we've asked that, hey, if you're going to go look at a school, to go sit in on the classes and see how they teach and see how, what type of values they're conveying on the mats too. And I would encourage, you, if you're listening to us and trying to decide, do I want to try this or not, is to try to glean who's leading the school. Are they just teaching techniques and physical movements, or are they teaching something deeper than that? Because I think to make it to the purple belts, make it to the brown belts, kind of, persist all the way into it, you'll only do that if you connect your training to the deeper
Yes.
parts of who you are,
Yes.
and we use that expression all the time, get comfortable being uncomfortable. um, you only achieve that with because you develop a spiritual part of who you are, because the body will break, bones break, people die,
Yeah.
life happens, and you can't control everything. So the things that you can control are those deeper feelings that you have, those deeper attitudes. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
I agree 100%. Jiu-jitsu is hard, right? And it doesn't mean and it won't be hard just at the beginning. Always will
Yes.
be hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you don't connect, if you don't understand and be open and mindful about everything that you're passing on the mats and learning on our all experiencing all aspects, right? Not just
Right.
rolling, but what you were feeling as you were training. If you
Yeah.
don't connect on that way, you won't pursue your jiu-jitsu,
Right.
because why are you gonna keep doing something that is so hard that you're not connected, right? You're only
Right.
gonna be able to do that for so much.
Yeah.
So that's why I think it's important you create that connection, that bond with your training partners. Sorry,
Yeah.
with your professor, and
Hmm.
in the art, right? By saying like that,
Yeah.
uh, find something that is way more important than just the next goal, just a winning, just a
Right.
victory. They're just submission. Because when things start to get hard again, that's when you quit, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, I mean, the belt promotion ceremony, the way that you construct the belt promotion ceremony calls attention to the idea that we're in this together. And what I feel like it does is it shows all of us that are a part of this community that we care about each other. Like, people show up and they sit for a couple of hours, they spend
Mm-hmm.
part of their weekend, and they indicate those people not getting the belts that we're with you,
Yeah.
and things can change on a dime. Things, your life is just fine, and then in a moment something can
Yes.
come up. And there are the support of the community in those times of when things are difficult, is so important, and you don't always realize it's that the community is there for you.
Mm-hmm.
um, so I don't know, as we're talking about developing the interior life, developing the spiritual life, I think that's a personal pursuit, and then allowing yourself to be a part of the community to both support, like show
Yeah.
up, support your, and be supported. Allow yourself to experience that. Hey,
Yes.
I think is it spiritual discipline also, right? To
Mm-hmm.
accept the affection and the support and the
Yes.
love of the people around you. Much in the same way physically, right? Like you're trying to have, you're trying to make somebody tap,
Yeah.
you're trying to resist it, you trust them to not hurt you. I mean, that's, and that you trust that this whole process of
Yes.
discomfort is actually has a positive impact, and that only happens between people. You can't do that on
Mm-hmm.
your own.
And learn also how to, because in jiu-jitsu you have feedbacks all the time, right?
Right.
And that's one of the awesome part about jiu-jitsu. Sometimes in life we do so many things, and just like way later on you see
Yeah.
like, oh my, I should change the way how I did 20 years ago. But in jiu-jitsu, any mistake that you do, you lead with the consequence right away.
Yes. Yeah. Right.
And that, not just about your personal, like your individual journey on making mistakes as you train and get caught in positions,
Right.
but also being a bad training partner, being
Hmm.
that guy that is rough, that guy that is muscle everything,
Right.
that guy that is muscling strength over technique,
Hmm.
over and over and over, and
Right.
not tapping and lean the weight and being rough in all ways as possible as you can imagine
Right.
doing jiu-jitsu. This is gonna last so long, because
Yes.
people will give you the feedback, and you need to be smart enough and sensitive enough to read that without people telling that to you,
Right.
right? Every message and signs from whoever
Hmm.
entity you recognize to you is
Yeah.
nothing like, by it's not a text message. Hey, by the way,
Yeah. Right.
it's not
Yeah.
someone
Right.
telling you.
Yeah.
Is the environment showing you, and you need to be
Yeah.
sensitive enough to recognize that, right? If
Yeah.
people are walking a little bit away from you on the road, or like walking down, or trying to do live
Yeah.
early, or not resist, you need to see this again, because this might not be a good sign.
Yeah. I hadn't thought about it in that way. That's a great point, because if you're learning to be a part of the community, is learning uh, to not always make it about what you want it to be about. Like, if you're just you're stronger than somebody, and you're 50 pounds
Yeah.
heavier, and you're more skilled. and you don't accept the role of like teaching, you're
Hmm.
just proving the point, yes, I can beat you every single time, no matter what you do, and so on and so forth, then you're not really joining the community. You're not helping
Yeah,
anybody. Yeah. And if you don't pick up on that, then yeah, that's a wonderful point, that it should refine your sensitivity to what's
yeah.
going on around you. Yeah, that improves every part of your life if you
Hmm.
kind of, well, good. Well, on the eve of Thanksgiving, we're about 10 days away from our belt promotion here, and I'm
Yes.
looking forward to attending. Um, and for me, I'm at a point in my life where the process is more important than than anything else. And so
Yes.
I'm grateful for where I am in my life to come to jujitsu, because it allows me to kind of settle into. I'm
Yes.
not in any hurry to. I'm actually glad that you're right about getting the blue. It did matter to me to change the blue belt. It makes it,
Uh-huh.
but I'm in no hurry to get the purple belt. Like, I want to make sure when I put it on, I deserve it. But with that, Professor, anything else you would say about the notion of belts that you'd want our audience to take with us?
uh, I think like we always talk, right? Like enjoy every moment that you have.
Yeah.
Uh, look all the way further as your goal to improve yourself. Learning the skill and the techniques is consequence on all the life lessons that we have.
Hmm.
Be try to be mindful and sensitive and mean like everything that we're doing on the mat, not only for yourself but for the others as well, because we don't know, sometimes we don't talk about this, but the way how you react or act towards that person on that day can change the world for them.
Yeah.
It change everything. You will never know like how bad that person or whatever issue that
Right.
person is dealing on that time, and having that moment without like a little bit away from the reality can help them to keep going on the right direction,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And about the belts, like again, never we can never compare each other's journey. Everyone comes from
Right.
different backgrounds, different skills, uh, age, weight, coordination. Like again, wrestling, like whatever
Yeah.
judo, different backgrounds that can be associated to jiu-jitsu.
Right.
So never think that I'm not receiving this belt, but that guy it is, and I smash him.
Right. Right.
This can be true, okay? This can be true, but you don't know what that person did to be able to get you that belt. You
Right.
don't know, like
Yeah.
you might be a great athlete. That guy like never done exercise on his life.
Right.
You are super confident. That guy now is able to talk with people and
Yeah.
look at their eyes and start to put himself on the right
Yes.
spot. Your life might be really colorful, and that guy is dealing with depression. So on his life, he was able to just achieve the next level,
Yeah. Yeah.
regardless the how much he can actually do the technique.
Right.
So he's getting promoted absolutely for sure.
Right.
Having of course the minimal requirements for that next level, but everyone has their own reasons why they're getting promoted. And if you keep comparing yourself to the others, you're never going to enjoy your own moment as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's
that
good.
starts to be not something so meaningful for you anymore.
Right. Yeah, very wise, Professor. I like it. I mean, so we have like our own individual paths, and we have to honor that. And those paths exist in the context of the community. So, how we behave affects the community, and how the community reacts to us affects us. And I mean, it's all connected. So I think those are. So if you're listening, I think these are ideas to take into the gyms that are around you, and see, what you're observing in terms of what type of community are they building, how they treating each other. Does it look like people are supporting and trying to encourage people, or are they is it always every moment of the day about competition? So, well, Professor, happy Thanksgiving. uh, and I'm grateful for our community that you have built for us, and I'm grateful for you. So
Thank you, brother. Happy Thanksgiving, and let's everyone 12 o'clock tomorrow, Thanksgiving Day. Let's watch Brazil
that's
play
right, go
a World
Brazil.
Cup.
All right. Well, I'll sneak Italy into our next conversation, because I feel like I'm if they come to meet each other, I'm sorry, Professor, I'm gonna have to be on the other end of the. I'm gonna have to root for my Italians.
Good fact. It is not even a World Cup. So next time then.
Okay.